My name is Rebecca Chin. I turned 32 this year. Most people my age are climbing corporate ladders, posting vacation photos, or starting families. Me? I spent the last 3 years being the family punchline. The one everyone whispered about. The one they pitied. But the truth? The truth was something they never bothered to ask about. Something they never Googled. Something that was right there in plain sight, if only they'd looked. This is the story of how one family reunion one single evening turned their entire world upside down. And how I finally let the truth speak for itself. Cut to cozy suburban home. Soft lighting. Rebecca carefully arranging fine china plates on a mahogany dining table. Close-ups of hands placing each plate perfectly. Started like every other year. The annual Chin family reunion. My parents' house in the suburbs would fill with aunts, uncles, cousins, old family friends. The whole extended network who'd known me since I was in diapers. I arrived early, as always. Helping set up was my unspoken role. Mom was in the kitchen on the phone. Her voice carried that special tone. The one she used when she had to explain me to someone. Mom into phone, hushed but audible. Yes, Rebecca's here already. She's between opportunities right now. You know how tough the job market is these days. She's very particular about what she wants to do. I set down the last plate. Felt the cool porcelain against my fingers. Took a slow breath. Between opportunities. That was the polite version. Last year it was taking time to figure things out. The year before, exploring options. 3 years of creative euphemisms for one simple word. Unemployed. But I wasn't unemployed. I just stopped trying to explain. Flashback montage, younger Rebecca in corporate office quitting, packing boxes. Then scenes of her working late nights on laptop in small apartment, traveling to remote villages, building water systems. 3 years ago I walked away from a high-paying consulting job at a top firm. Everyone thought I was crazy. Mom cried for weeks. Dad said I was throwing away my future. My sister Jessica laughed and called me naive. But I had a plan. A big one. I founded the Chin Foundation for Global Water and Health Equity. Started with my savings, a small team of engineers and public health experts, and one mission. Deliver clean water and basic medical access to places foreign aid usually forgot. Not handouts. Sustainable systems. Community-owned. Transparent funding. Measurable results. We built our first filtration plant in rural Kenya. Then expanded to India, Bangladesh, Ethiopia. Over time, 50 million people reached. Billions in economic impact through healthier populations. Published papers. TED Talks. Partnerships with UNICEF, WHO, governments. All public. All online. Website. Annual reports. News articles. But family never asked for details. They asked, "Do you have a job yet?" So I stopped volunteering information. Let them assume. Back to present. Front door opens. Jessica enters, designer outfit, confident stride, expensive perfume trailing. Jessica loud to the room. Is she actually helping this year? Or just standing around looking lost? Mom soft reproach Jessica, please. I walked out from the dining room carrying serving bowls. Jessica looking me up and down, still shopping at thrift stores, I see. Some things never change. Rebecca, evenly, some things don't need to change. Jessica, smirking, that's the spirit of a chronic underachiever. Accept mediocrity and call it authenticity. Dad emerged from his study, already in host mode. Jovial, expansive. Dad. Rebecca, good you're early. Listen. When people ask what you're doing these days, maybe just say you're consulting. It sounds better than nothing. Rebecca. I'm not doing nothing, Dad. Dad waving hand, right. Your little projects. But to people who don't understand, it might sound like unemployment. We don't want them to worry. Jessica, from living room, laughing, too late for that. The doorbell rang. Relatives poured in. Aunts with hugs and questions. Uncles with firm handshakes. Cousins showing off new cars, promotions, engagements. The pattern repeated like clockwork. Aunt Linda. So, Rebecca, what are you up to these days? Before I could answer, Mom. She's taking some time to figure things out. Dad. Still exploring her options. Jessica, positioning herself nearby for contrast. It's such a demanding role, my new senior marketing director position. 70-hour weeks, national campaigns. But seeing real impact? Worth it. She glanced at me, Jessica. Though I suppose not everyone's cut out for that kind of pressure. Uncle Robert, diplomatic. Rebecca's always been more low-key. Jessica, murmuring, that's one word for it. Cousin David, fresh from a big real estate deal, jumped in. David. The thing about success is you have to take risks. Too many people play it safe and wonder why nothing happens. Jessica. Exactly. Some people are just afraid of real responsibility. I excused myself to the kitchen. Heard Aunt Linda and Mom talking. Aunt Linda. Have you thought about suggesting something concrete? Even part-time retail? It would give her structure. Mom, weary, we've tried. She talks about her work, but nothing ever comes of it. I think she might be depressed. Aunt Linda. Oh, honey, that's so hard. Has she seen someone? I cleared my throat. They jumped, Rebecca. Discussing my apparent psychological crisis? Their pity was worse than Jessica's contempt. Dinner was announced. We sat. I ended up between kind but condescending Aunt Mary and Uncle Robert. Uncle Robert. So, Rebecca, what do you do with your time? Hobbies? Interests? Jessica, snorting on what? Her imaginary projects. Rebecca. I consult. Jessica, mocking, consult on what exactly? How to avoid employment. The table went quiet. All eyes on me, Jessica. If she's working, why no business cards? No website. No evidence. It's code for I gave up. Aunt Mary, soft, that seems harsh. Jessica. Is it harsh to tell the truth? Look, I love my sister, but we have to stop enabling this fantasy. She's unemployed. Has been for years. Silence. Waiting for my breakdown. Rebecca calmly. May I have the potatoes, please? Jessica, throwing hands up. See? No ambition. No fight. Nothing. Music shifts to tension. Slow zoom on Rebecca's face, serene. After dinner, clearing plates, I overheard more. David. Winners hustle. They network. Rebecca's not even making excuses anymore. She's accepted being a loser. Jessica. Don't use loser, Mom says. Use underachiever. Unmotivated. Face it. Some kids don't turn out the way you hope. Aunt Mary found me in the kitchen. Aunt Mary. Rebecca, honey, we don't judge. But you're so isolated. No career, no social life. Have you thought about therapy? Rebecca. Infine. Aunt Mary, tears, you're not fine. You're alone and unemployed and hiding. Then Aunt Linda burst in. Aunt Linda. Turn on the TV. Living room. Now. Everyone rushed. Uncle James had CNN on. Anchor on screen, anchor. Unprecedented achievement. At just 32, Dr. Rebecca Chin has revolutionized global health infrastructure, providing clean water and medical access to over 50 million people across 3 continents. My face filled the screen, standing in front of the United Nations, flanked by world leaders. Anchor continues. Her innovative approach combines advanced filtration with community-driven maintenance, ensuring sustainability without dependency. Today, Time magazine names Dr. Rebecca Chin their Person of the Year. Cover appears, my professional photo. The Changemaker. How one woman revolutionized global health. Room silent. Jessica made a strangled sound. Footage. Water facility openings. Handshakes with Secretary General. TED Talk clips. Forbes ranking. Nobel predictions. Uncle Robert, stunned. That's Rebecca, still holding a plate. Yes. Phones came out. Scrolling. Articles everywhere: New York Times, BBC, Washington Post, The Economist. Dad shaking hands, typing dozens of articles. Mit Doktorate. Johns Hopkins Masters. 18 peer-reviewed papers. Mom. Whispering, Person of the Year. Jessica, pale. You've been working all this time. Rebecca. Yes. Consulting with governments, NGOs, international organizations on sustainable infrastructure. Cousin David, reading your foundation's budget. Larger than some countries' GDP. Rebecca. We use resources efficiently. Mom, crying, why didn't you tell us? Rebecca. You never asked what I actually did. You asked if I had a real job. Different question. Jessica sat heavily. Jessica. Tonight I called you unemployed. A loser. Unmotivated. Rebecca. Yes. I heard. Jessica, crumpling, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Rebecca. You operated on incomplete information and your own insecurities. People do that. The room filled with buzzing phones. Relatives discovering TED Talks, millions of views. World Economic Forum invitations declined. Meetings with presidents and the Dalai Lama. Uncle James. They're saying Nobel Peace Prize frontrunner. Rebecca. Awards committees decide that. I can't control it. Jessica, hysterical laugh. You're possibly winning a Nobel. And acting like it's no big deal? Rebecca. It's a distraction from the work. I gestured around. Rebecca. This evening was about your perception of success versus reality. But reality stays the same. 50 million people have clean water. Regardless of what you thought of me. Extended reactions section. Each family member processes. Mom, approaching tentatively. Why let us think you were unemployed? All those pitying looks. Why not correct us? Rebecca. Correcting would take time and energy I preferred to spend on actual work. Your assumptions didn't affect my life. They only affected your understanding. Dad, hollow all this time. You've been one of the most influential people in global health, and we thought, Rebecca. I was never unemployed. I left corporate to start the foundation. That was the plan. But when I told you 3 years ago, you said I was throwing away my career. Mom cried. Jessica called me stupid. So I stopped explaining. I just did the work. Cousin David. I said you had no vision. That you think too small. Rebecca. You weren't wrong about the principle. Success requires risk. I risked everything: savings, reputation, relationships. But those were calculated risks. And the solution was straightforward. We just needed someone willing to implement it without ego. Aunt Linda. I was condescending. Presumptuous. Treated you like a charity case. Uncle Chin, patriarch 83, entering late. Let me guess. You spent the evening calling Rebecca a failure. Now you've discovered she's more successful than all of you combined. He approached me. Uncle Chin. Your grandmother had those same eyes. She rebuilt a village after war with nothing. I knew you'd do something similar. Person of the Year. She'd be proud. Rebecca. Thank you. Though the title mostly helps fundraising. He laughed. Uncle Chin. Always practical. You refused to shrink to fit their limited vision. The evening turned strange. Apologies. Awkward congratulations. Requests for introductions, event invites. I deflected politely, offered foundation contacts for real causes, kept boundaries. Jessica cornered me in kitchen while washing dishes. Jessica. I built my identity on being the successful one. Turns out I'm not even close. Rebecca. We're not in competition. Jessica. Wasn't tonight proof? You let me mock you. Let everyone pity you. Then, Person of the Year. Rebecca. I didn't plan a reveal. The time announcement coincided with reunion. And this wasn't punishment. This was reality. You needed me to be less so you could feel more. The magazine doesn't change who I've been for 3 years. It just changes your perception. Jessica crying, makeup running, I'm ashamed. Rebecca, don't be ashamed. Be curious. Curious why you needed me smaller. Curious what success really means beyond titles. Curious what you're missing when you judge by surfaces. Jessica, how are you so calm? Rebecca, because I knew who I was before tonight, and I'll know tomorrow. External validation doesn't change that. Later, as people left, Mom stopped me at the door. Mom, don't go yet. We need to talk properly. Rebecca, we just did for 3 hours. Mom, but I still don't understand. Why hide it? Rebecca, I didn't hide. It was public. Articles, website, videos. You never looked because you decided my story already. You wanted a conventional career to brag about. When I chose differently, you stopped listening. Dad, what happens now? Rebecca, now I go home. Prep for tomorrow's call with Kenyan Health Ministry. Continue the work. Same as always. Mom, everything's changed. Rebecca, nothing has except your awareness. The work was happening before. It'll happen after. Your understanding is irrelevant to its existence. Dad, that's harsh. Rebecca, it's honest. You're my family. I love you. But I can't live seeking approval or fearing judgment. I tried that for years. It was exhausting. So I chose work over comfort. That was right for me and for 50 million people. Mom's small voice, when can we see you again? Rebecca, next reunion. Or a birthday. Holiday. But you can accept who I am. Or keep being disappointed I'm not who you wanted. Either way, I'll love you. And I'll keep doing the work. I left. They stood in doorway, smaller somehow. Uncle Chin caught me at car. Uncle Chin, you handled that well. Rebecca, I feel like I broke something. Uncle Chin, you broke illusions that needed breaking. Your grandmother said, people who love who they think you are struggle when they meet who you are. Tonight they met you. Give them time. If they don't adjust, love from honest distance. Real is better than pretend. I drove home. Phone buzzed. Apologies, congratulations, confusion. I'd answer later. Patiently. Honestly. Tomorrow, Bangladesh sanitation project. India Grand Apps. Ethiopia data follow-up. None changed by magazine covers or family opinions. 50 million had clean water because I solved a problem instead of managing perceptions. That truth stood alone. The work was the point. Always had been. Everything else. Just commentary.